about luxury cruising. From sweet so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Krystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and I'm really excited about today's episode. So far on the podcast, we have exclusively talked about ocean cruising, but I have Nadeen here today, and she is going to start off a short series that I've recorded about luxury river cruising. Nadeen wrote an amazing blog about the transition from ocean cruising to river cruising, and she's going to share her insights with us today. So Nadeen, please tell the audience whatever you want them to know about you.
Yes. Well, hi. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Nadeen White. Sorry about all the wires here, but I am a physician. About, I guess now maybe 12 years ago, I started doing travel blogging because I love to travel, and I've been cruising since I was 18. I think my grandmother took me on my first cruise. So both my grandmother and my mother love to cruise. And I have been, at last count, maybe 7 or 8 different cruise lines. My mom was a big Princess and Royal Caribbean cruiser, but I've also been on Norwegian, on Holland America, Disney. So I introduced my husband to cruising, and we were engaged on the Mediterranean cruise. So yes, definitely a big cruiser. So in 2023, I started doing group trips because, as having a travel blog, a lot of people have been following me with my travels. They wanted to travel with me, basically. And so I started doing group trips. And as a part of that, my blog evolved to being luxury, travel, food. I ended up getting a wine certification. So I've combined all of that into what I call Culinary Travels by The Sophisticated Life. My blog is The Sophisticated Life. That's the name of the blog. And so, the bigger cruise ships, of course, they have their advantages in terms of pricing. They're usually less expensive. They are great for families and big families. Lots of variety in terms of, food, cuisines, things like that. But as I've gotten older, also, I kind of wanted something more intimate. I didn't want to, as my husband said, just like feel haggled about, pricing, with the big ocean liners. You pay one price, but then you have to pay for this excursion, pay to eat at this restaurant on the ship, pay for every different thing. And so I started kind of looking into river cruising, kind of getting closer to the destinations also. And a friend of mine who's a winemaker, Theodora Lee, she was going to be a wine host on the AmaWaterways river cruise through France. I love France. I had been to France about at least 4 times. And so that's when I decided to look into the river cruise that she was doing. And it was on AmaWaterways. They do themed cruises, which I think is great. So of course, hers, like I said, was a wine river cruise. So we did that on the Rhône River. And one of the things that I just absolutely loved about it, besides being a very
river? Can you just tell me the name?
Oh, yes, Rhône, Rhone.
Oh, okay, the Rhône River. Yeah, okay.
Yes. I think we had 110 people total on our river cruise. Compare that to thousands on the mega ships. And I've been on Harmony of the Seas. I've been on Oasis of the Seas. Whenever those would come out on
Several thousand, 4, 5, 6,000 people.
Yes, waiting for the elevators, for 20 minutes, trying to find your family somewhere on the boat. And so this, if you can imagine, like 2 levels of rooms, 110 people. The crew knew everybody's name. You met everybody basically on the ship within 2 days. And so it was very intimate. That was one of the things I really loved about it. The crew knew you, they knew your taste. My husband would sit down, they knew exactly what he wanted to start off his meal with, what drink he wanted. Another thing that I loved is so much is included. So the excursions that you do, those were all included. You didn't have to worry about adding $100 for this excursion, $200 for that. And when you get there, if you change your mind, they're like, okay, you want to do biking instead of hiking? Just go follow that group. Everything was just so relaxed and included. Beer, wine, alcohol with your meals, happy hour. The food quality, I can't even explain. I mean, we were in France, so they had a lot of French specialties that were on the menu. You could, of course, like any other cruise, get as much as you want, change whatever you don't like. So those are some of the things that I was really looking forward to with the river cruise. And the other thing that was really amazing is you may see the pictures and it is actually correct that you're on the river and you could literally jump out of your room onto the land of the city that you dock in.
Yeah.
I mean, people are walking by the room and I'm like, oh my gosh, let me close the curtains because you were right.
You're that close to the shore.
That
there
close.
Are people. Yeah. Okay, so let's step back and get into the nitty gritty. What was the name of the ship?
The ship that we cruised on in France was called AmaCello. So they all start with AMA for AmaWaterways, and it was Cello, CELLO. So that was the name of our ship. Yes.
Awesome. And you said there's like 2 levels of staterooms, 100, 110 people.
Yes.
What was the rest of the ship like? What was the decor?
Yes. So when you walk in, there was just a very small reception area. And ours was like an older river cruise, one of their older ships, because the newer ones have different features. But when you walk in, there was a common area, like a lounge, and it looks just like how you would imagine on the ocean liners. So there's like a bar area, there's lots of seating. But what's great, it's all open. So it's all like windows. So like if you're sailing, a beautiful, beautiful views, because again, you're on the river. So you get to see a lot of land. And then they have like a stage area because they would have entertainment, usually music, but they would have sometimes like say a comedian, something like that. So that's on the right-hand side when you first walk in. And that's basically like a river level, if you can imagine. So, and then on the left-hand side, all the way down, it's just all cabins. That's considered like ocean level because those have like balconies. So like ours had, they didn't have full balconies. Some of their ships do have full balconies. We had kind of like that Juliet balcony where you could open the doors, where you couldn't stand outside. But then they also had lower level rooms. Some of my guests that came with me stayed on the lower level. The thing about those would be considered like an ocean ship. Those would be like just ocean view. So they had a window, but you couldn't open the window. There was no doors. The thing about that, depending on how high the river is when you're cruising, the water comes up on the window.
Yeah.
So some of them
low for me.
Exactly. And we did a whole live on Instagram talking about this because some of them had to like close the curtains.
Yeah.
That was a little freaky. And then there were some rooms on a higher level. And those rooms on the higher level were near like the gym because they have a gym. They had a small spa. They had another dining area where we had like the chef's dinner. So everybody one night on the ship has like a multi-course dinner. With food and wine tastings in the chef's table area upstairs. Then on the upper level, also outside, they have like a small pool, small hot tub, just like you would imagine on a big ocean liner, like a small track that you can run around. They did activities up there. So it wasn't hot when we were sailing because it was November, but the pool was closed. But normally that would be open. And they were still doing exercises up there. And so they still had activities on the ship. The thing is, too, with the river cruise, you don't have days at sea. We were docked every day somewhere. And even if you decided not to do like an activity excursion, you could just walk off the ship and spend time in town and then come back on the ship.
Of the river cruises that
Yes.
a lot of times you're docked like really close to the center.
Yes, right.
So you could just walk off the ship and walk around and
Exactly.
it's not, or take if they have bikes
They
that
do,
you can
yes.
use on the ship, you just take a couple of the bikes and
That's exactly
go
right.
explore.
Yes.
Go explore on your own. In the room itself, so you said you had a Juliet balcony.
Yes.
Anything special? Did anything stand out to you about the room?
So the size was, I would say, about the same as regular cruise ship. I mean, the bathroom was nice. We had, thank God, a shower with glass doors, no curtain. Woo!
Yeah.
I can't do curtains anymore at my age. But the room was about the same size. And like I said, we had the Juliet balcony. But this is, like I said, an older ship. From what I can see with the newer ship, the rooms are bigger and some of them all have like balcony, like 90% full balcony room. Yeah. So the ship, go ahead.
Yeah, that's really common in like newer ships.
Yes.
The newer the build, the more they put the balcony on because so many people want balcony and they're willing to pay a premium price
to sit on
that balcony.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I'm one of those people. So for the next one I'm going on, I'm in category A. So they'll have like category A, which is the highest floor, which is usually like the third floor, with the full balcony. And so, because again, too, if you come back and you want to just sit out there, watch the sunset, I mean, it's really, these views are so beautiful, because you're like docked, like I said, sometimes overnight even in the locations. And so I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. And again, you walk back on the ship from being out and they're handing you like the warm towels. They had different drinks of the day. And so they would hand you a different drink every day when you would come back on. And so, that was really nice. And they would always kind of schedule happy hour to be around that time that you would be coming back from your excursions. They would have like high tea. So there was always something going on, like on or off the ship. And they had a lot of different activities like to choose from in terms of the excursions.
And it sounds like they were always catering to you. Like
yes,
the happy hour was time.
absolutely.
Wow. And the towels. And I'm sure if it was November, you had the option for like a warm drink.
Yes.
As opposed to, the ice water in the summer.
Yes, they did. And they had dancing. I mean, we had dancing at night, but for the music, they'd have a DJ. So they'd have live music, but then they'd also have a DJ. I think maybe not misconception, but I think for a lot of people, especially even my husband, when I first showed him the pictures, is that river cruising is for older retired people.
A lot of people do feel that way. And I do think, especially on some of the more active lines, that is completely wrong.
Exactly.
There's a lot of younger, vibrant people who are on these ships, and especially because they don't really cater to children.
Right.
There are people who aren't traveling with their children, maybe don't have children, don't want a ship full of children, want that small intimate experience. And so like there's nightlife.
Right. And so I'm a pediatrician, love children, but I don't want to usually be around, I have to be in the frame of mind. So of course, if I'm going to Disney, I know I'm going to be around kids. But certain vacations like that, I don't want to be around the children. And so that was a huge, huge factor, great selling point for me. And there was a lot of people our age. And so we would be in the lounge till like 1:00 in the morning, dancing, doing line dancing. And so my husband really, he is picky when it comes to vacations. He is very hard to impress. And he absolutely loved it. And one of the things that he said was he did not feel like nickel and dime. Like he felt like when you're on the ocean liner, it's like you're being nickel and dimed, and he just
constantly being pitched. Do you want some specialty dining? Do you want the dining? The package? Do you want the this? Do you want the that? And it's like
the drink package.
Like, oh, we have a spa special. This. Like, no. I don't want to be sold to.
Right.
When I'm on vacation.
That is exactly what he said. He just felt like he could just relax, eat his food, sit in the lounge when he wanted to, and just not have to worry about any of that.
Let's talk about the food.
Yes.
Before we get to the chef's table experience, I want to hear about that, but just sort of lay out for people,
And
is
I
there a
told you
main
that.
dining room and also specialty dining room? How does the food
Yes.
work?
Yes. So for the food, they do have 3 set meals a day. They had breakfast time, let's say it was, 7 to 10. They'd have set lunch, maybe 12 to 2, and then set dining. They had one main dining room and you could sit wherever you want. We tended to sit at the same table, the group that I traveled with, but you could really just sit wherever you want. We had the same server every night because we sat in her section. We really liked her. If you went there, then that was just like on the ocean liner, you would have a sit down meal with a menu, different courses. You would pick whatever you want from the different course. They had wine pairings usually every night. And since we were in France, they were French wines. It was really great.
It's a wine cruise.
And it was a wine cruise. And so what was also great was the winemaker, her wines are from Northern California. She had them on the ship. So she had some classes. So she did some wine tasting classes. She also did some classes talking about California wines, her wines. And then at dinner, she had one night where it was her wines were paired with the food. So that was really, really neat. Yeah. So that's what they kind of do when they have the different wine hosts. But they tell you on the menu which wines. And even if you don't want the wines that are paired on the menu, they have other wines that you can get. My friends really just wanted sparkling, or champagne every night. And so they just drank champagne every night. They'd have 4 glasses lined up with their food. So yeah, so it was multi-course and you would just pick. And if you wanted, again, just like a regular cruise, you don't like this, take that back, or you want 2 of these things. Or if it's not on the menu. So we had, it's hilarious. If I find it, I'll show you. They had this bacon Caesar salad. And it just, but you think, how good could that be? Every single night we had that. And I mean, even if it wasn't on the menu, my husband was like, he sat down, she brought him that. They also just had a grill. They had items that were just always on the menu. So in case you didn't like the fancy whatever they had. And one thing was a grilled salmon. It was the best grilled salmon I've ever had in my life. And so sometimes we would just order that to just have stuff on the table in case we didn't like the other things, which was rare. The chef would come out and talk to people. And so the thing is, if you they didn't have just a buffet. So for instance, if you missed breakfast, then you would have to wait for lunch. They did have, like I said, sometimes tea in between lunch and dinner. They did have sometimes, so there was no room service 24-hour food. So that was the thing.
Okay,
They would have some snacks sometimes out in the bar, by the bar. So they would have cookies, chips, salsa, things like that. But if you out on the excursions, a lot of times the meals were included. But say you stayed on the ship, then you would want to go and try and catch one of the meals because they were set meal times. So that is what's different. It's not 24-hour room service. There's no 24-hour buffet or anything like that.
You have to know.
You do have to know that. And so there was one night, so they do have snacks that come out late at night, let's say 10 p.m. by the bar, when there's the entertainment going on, they'll put out little mini sandwiches and stuff like that. So one night, for instance, I was just so tired. I slept through dinner. I wasn't that hungry, but I knew either it was 11 p.m. they were going to be putting out. One night it was Thai stuff, and it was spring rolls. And I mean, it was so good that we all were just pigging out on the stuff they put out. So there were late night snacks every night by the bar. And we looked forward to them. Even if we had dinner, sometimes they were so good, we were still eating that. So you're not going to stop.
Well, you were burning it all off dancing. So
well,
you're entitled.
That too.
You're totally entitled.
Yeah. So you won't.
So what about
you won't starve?
You had mentioned pardon, what was that?
I said you won't starve for sure.
Yeah. No, you won't starve. Now, you had mentioned chef's table.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and any other specialty dining that they might have.
Right. So there's no other specialty dining restaurant, but everybody, at least, one time during the 7 nights on the cruise, you go upstairs to this really beautiful setting and you can see the chef and the sous chef preparing the different items, and they come out and they explain to you what each item is. And I think it was about 7 courses that we had, and starting everything from like soup and salad to beef, fish, all the way to dessert. And they had either, I can't remember, it wasn't just wine with every item. It was like cocktails and things like that. And so everybody gets to do that at least one time on the ship. And that was really nice because everybody also dressed up for that. So the captain comes to that. So it's kind of like the captain's dinner back when people would really dress up nicely on the ocean liner. So yeah, everybody was dressed up, and it's a small, it's like, the ship is only, let's say 110 people, and they break everybody up every night. So it's maybe 25, 30 people in that space. So it's very, again, intimate, and people really getting to know each other in that space during that time. So that was really nice. You get to know the captain. My friends really got into how the lock systems work on the river cruise. And they are able to go up to the wheelhouse, is what it's called, where the captain is working. And he explained everything to them about the locks. And one night we were able to sit at the front of the ship, and it is really fascinating, to like watch as, the ship goes up and then comes down between the locks. And I remember
I've heard that's crazy.
Oh my God.
It's like a Panama Canal. Instead of it only happening once, it happens all the time.
It's exactly right. I remember when my mother went on a cruise through the Panama Canal, like just to experience that. And the first time it happened, we were in our room and we were like, what's going on? Because we opened the blinds, and all you see is like metal and brick, as we were going through it. And it took a few times of me reading about it, because I'm not an engineer, to really understand it. And then the night that I couldn't sit outside. My husband and one of the other guests sat out on the front patio as we were going through the locks. They got to really experience it.
And why couldn't you sit outside? Was it too cold or too?
No, I was just kind of freaked out. Like, I didn't think I'd fall over or anything, but I just was like, I'm going to stay inside behind the glass. But you got to see the ship go up and down between the locks. So that's something else that's very neat about river cruising that is different.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, talk about the excursions. Anything particularly luxurious about the excursions? And I know you did some time beforehand, a couple of days before the cruise. So talk about that.
Right. So the couple of days before we did, like I said, that was also included, which is great, the tours that they had. So we did a day that we went to Nice, Monaco, Monte Carlo. They had one day that we did Nice, and then one day that they took you to Monte Carlo, Monaco, and Nice. And so, yeah, those are included. Like, those tours were just part of the 3 days. So if you wanted to they have pre and post tours of the river cruises. And so once you pay for the pre-tour, they may tell you, okay, the pre-cruise is $2,000. It includes 3 nights in the French Riviera with tours. It didn't include meals, but you pay that. My husband and I did that. Actually, 2 of the girls did the post-cruise, which was Geneva, Switzerland. So it included, transportation, 3 nights there and tours there. And so, like I said, for Portugal in the fall, it's 3 nights at, I think, the Intercontinental in Lisbon with 2 days of tours in Lisbon. And so I think one of the days we had lunch maybe, but you also have the option to do that, and they will transport you from wherever you are to the cruise ship. So like when we left Nice on our way to the cruise ship, we stopped. It was raining, but it was still so beautiful. We stopped in Provence, and we spent a whole afternoon in Provence. So that was just gorgeous. So yes, and on the excursions, gosh, they did so many different things. My favorite, let me see. Let me get the name right. Avignon. That was my favorite.
Avignon.
Oh, God. Stunning. absolutely stunning. I wish I could have stayed there longer. And I thought Lyon was going to be my favorite place just because of the food. And we did a food tour there, which was fine.
Uh-huh.
But Avignon, I tell
That was
people
the
if
place.
they have a chance to go there, absolutely stunning. We did truffle hunting in
Oh, good.
yeah, so I did truffle hunting twice that year because my tour in October was through northern Italy, and I went to Alba and did truffle hunting in Alba. So I had gone truffle hunting twice in 2023. So I thought, well, this is kind of luxurious that I'm doing truffle hunting
Yeah.
twice. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Anything you eat
Oh.
with truffles, sure is amazing.
amazing, amazing. So yeah, we did a food tour in Lyon. We did the truffle hunting, but we did do that. And Avignon, we just did like a city tour and market tour. We were supposed to go into Burgundy, but this is another thing that people have to be aware of is the weather. So it rained so much, we couldn't go as far up the river as planned. So we had to
Uh-huh.
stay in Lyon, and then they put us on a bus, and the furthest we got was Beaujolais. But I wish I could, I don't think the pictures would show if I show you. So we got to Beaujolais, and it was the day before Beaujolais Nouveau Day. And so they were setting up for the parades and everything. And we got to do a tasting in this castle. I can't
Oh,
even
wine
explain
tasting?
it, in Beaujolais,
Yeah.
in this place that was like, and that was the last day. And it blew my mind. I mean, it was just absolutely
Amazing.
gorgeous. Yeah. And so we were the only ones there too doing the wine tasting, just the people from the ship that had chosen that
I love those
excursion.
intimate experiences
Oh
where
my
it's just
gosh.
you, right? Like you're
Yes.
not in a crowd of like
I can't do
50,000
crowds.
people. It's just you.
Yeah. And that's the thing with my group tours. And they're, of course, a little pricier than other ones, but that's because we do private everything. So there's private tours, private guide, everything. But yes, so that chateau in Beaujolais for the last day of that river cruise. And so that was another thing with Emma is that whenever something came up that affected what was on the schedule, they were like this with like fixing it,
Yeah.
figuring it out. Because Burgundy was a huge deal for me on this trip. I was like, I've been to Bordeaux, and on this cruise, I was going to make it to Burgundy. And when I found out we weren't going to be able to go there because of the river,
Yeah.
it was just too high. I was like, what do you mean? I don't understand it. Like, what does that mean? But they did everything they could to make up for that.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
as an experienced cruiser,
Yeah.
sometimes ports get missed, but
Yes.
it seems like Alma really went above and
They did.
beyond. Like other cruise lines, like a lot of contemporary cruise lines,
Yeah.
you get a sea day,
Right.
which
Yes.
is in port town.
Yeah.
Too bad, so
Yeah.
sad.
Right.
But it sounds like Alma really made an effort.
They did. So we didn't end where we were supposed to, which is where people were supposed to fly out of. And now I'm blanking on where that was. So to get to the airport, I don't know why I'm blanking on where we flew out of. So we were further away from where everybody was
It
supposed to.
would say somewhere like in Switzerland, no? Because you said
No.
people got an extension in Geneva.
Yeah, they did go to Geneva, but it was still France that we were leaving out of. So, but they put people on buses and just got them where they needed
Yeah.
to be. Yeah. So they took care, which is why I decided to cruise with them again, because I had such a positive experience with them. Absolutely. No, yeah, they were absolutely excellent. And like my husband said, it was the best food he'd ever had on a cruise, like the best food.
So important.
And he likes to eat. Like I said, he's very hard to please. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
so what's that?
So, stepping back from this cruise,
Yeah.
how do you define luxury?
Luxury to me is really about experiences. It's not about the money you spend, so people may be like, oh, I spent 10,000 on this trip. And I'm like, well, what did you do? What did you walk away from? You can spend 10,000 and, 5,000 of that was on the flight and the other 5,000 was just on the hotel, but what did you walk away from? So for me and the trips that I even curate myself, it's really about the experiences that you have. And, I specialize in culinary experiences, but, it's everything from, cultural, culinary, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel like enriched, what do you walk away from that's like memorable, that makes you feel like, 5-10 years from now, you're going to be talking about it. I know for sure, well, we were in northern Italy and we did that truffle hunting where the dog found the truffles and they shaved off those truffles onto the pizza and the pasta that we had, and we were drinking Nebbiolo. I know that was luxurious. And we were dressed in like just boots and normal clothes, but I know for
Right.
sure that was luxurious, and they will never forget that moment, in Alba in Italy. And so those are the kind of things to me that I define, as luxury, and I try and give my clients. So, I've done like a hammam spa now 3 times. That never gets old to me. But the first time, my first trip was Morocco that I took a group with. And I remember, but there was a second group that went, and I was leaving the hotel to go check on something. And I had 2 of the girls waving me down saying, like, I would never experience anything like that. I'm the cleanest I've ever been in my life. Oh my God. Da, da, da. And again, they just felt so luxurious. They felt so clean and soft and taken care of. I was so happy I could give them that experience, something that they've never had, that they'd always remember. And so, yeah, that's really how I define luxury, and try and give that to people when they travel.
Do you have a dream cruise?
Woo, a dream cruise. Not in terms of location. Well, no, I would say that. I have not been to Egypt, so I've not cruised.
The Nile.
Yeah.
A big one.
Yeah, I can't not do that. Like, that's just to me a given. That has to happen.
Yeah.
I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. I turn 55 next year, and I told my husband, I said, I have to go to Egypt. Like, I have to cruise the Nile. So I would say that would be my dream cruise for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you have another group cruise coming up.
Right.
So yeah, tell the audience about your group cruise, which, spoiler alert, is sold out, but people have the opportunity to get on the waiting list. So tell us all about that.
Yes. So I'm doing another AmaWaterways cruise in November. That's going to be to Portugal. So that one is sold out just because the ship itself is sold out. But there is a waiting list, and I can give you a link to that. And so if anything opens up, I will contact people to get on that. So we're doing 3 days in Lisbon, and then 7 days along the Douro River, Douro Valley, and ending in Porto, which I've been to Portugal, to all those places before. It's absolutely stunning. And we're going to be stopping at just really small little towns along the Douro River in the valley to do tastings and food and wine tastings. And so it's going to be really, again, intimate and quaint, just something that, you will have done, but you wouldn't have done before. I've never done it that way before.
Yeah.
And so, but next summer, I was also looking into luxury. Like I said, I've done all the big ocean liners. I've been looking into more like mid-size. I know people still want to do ocean cruises, but I thought, well, let me do something that's more mid-size. And in my research, I came across Explorer Journeys, and the way I would describe it is like a boutique hotel on the sea.
Yes.
And from everything I'm learning from my fellow travel advisors is that it's a younger crowd than some of the other mid-size ocean liners, and that the food is excellent. Because for me, of course, my niche is culinary. Yes. So I have a lot of people in my clients that want to go to Croatia, and I've never been to Croatia. And so the one that I'm looking at is like heavy on Croatia, Greece. I've been to Greece before, but it was 2010. So I feel like it's time to go back. So that I haven't opened up yet.
Right. So, but if people get on the waiting list, will they hear about the potential Explorer Journeys?
Oh, yeah. So if they sign up for my newsletter, anytime a trip is available, they'll hear about it. So the best thing actually is to just sign up for my newsletter. So I can give you the link to that. whenever there is openings on a trip or whenever I'm releasing a new trip, it always goes out in my newsletter. So I'll give you the link to that.
Name of the newsletter?
Well, it's just a link to the Sophisticated Life newsletter.
Okay, the Sophisticated Life. We'll definitely link all that in the show notes, and all the different social ways to get in touch with you, follow you. And I really, really appreciate you starting off our cruise series.
I'm excited to follow it.
Yes, I hope everyone else does. Please subscribe so that you can get those podcasts as soon as they drop.
Absolutely.
And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious travel. Thanks, everyone. Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.